Alright, so I've been wanting to do this tour of my office for quite a while now, since redoing it a couple of months ago. And we're going to start actually out here in my living room, because this is where the overflow books went. So as you can see, I took one of the old bookcases, just threw it up here, and this has the volumes that look alright on display. So it's like Kyle and Dalish, Lightfoot's commentary on the New Testament from according to the Talmud and Hebraica. You got Barnhouse on Romans, the Ante-Nicene Fathers, the Post-Nicene and Nicene Fathers, the second series. I don't have the ones of Augustine. Theological Dictionary of the New Testament. Then you got Woost's Word Studies. Down here's the Expositor's Bible Commentary. Then we have, what's the name of this commentary? The New International Bible Commentary. All the volumes I have there. And then Schaff's History of the Christian Church, 8 volumes. And these are volumes that I really don't get into too often. A lot of them, the Fathers, of course, the Theological Dictionary, the New Testament, I have available in digital formats if and when I need to reference them. Same with Kyle and Dalish. Woost I actually pull out every now and again. But yeah, you know, they look nice on display, so that's where they went. And as we continue down into my hallway, don't mind the markings. So here's the office. You see some of the books. We're going to walk in, talk a little bit about the desk first. It's actually made from an IKEA countertop. I forget which one it was. I want to say Carlby, maybe? The Carlby countertop. I just thought it kind of went with the floors better than anything else. I didn't want to get a regular sized desk, which I had. I wanted something extra long to be able to accommodate the computer with the second monitor and leave me some space to spread out with some books. So it's sitting on top of 2 IKEA drawer units. I think these are Gallants. The one on the left there that has a filing cabinet in the bottom. This one is just drawers. And I got a good tip from watching a YouTube video, and the lady said she was looking at Pinterest, and somebody said, if you want good free drawer organizers, take all your old Apple boxes and use those. So if you look, that's actually exactly what I did. You know, these are like iPhone boxes and an Apple mouse box, some more iPhone boxes, and I just stuck them down with double-sided tape so they don't shift around as they're moving, and you know, keeps my drawers clean and organized. We got some charging bricks, SD cards, USB drives, some chamois to wipe down the monitor, an old iPod Touch. There's my old iPhone. This is the remote for the lights. Pardon my finger getting in the frame there. For the LEDs I have over the bookshelves. You can't see them too great because of the light in here. And that's about it. If you look down, I got some tools in here organized in iPad boxes. Down here is just some junk and a couple important documents. This is miscellaneous. Those are old business cards for the church. This is software that we use to log in the offerings at church. Down here I got a bunch of random cables and batteries and whatnot. I'm pretty adamant about cable management. I don't like to see a lot of cords. So if you'll notice, just down here I have my lightning cable and then a regular USB cable for charging devices. Everything's run up through this. We drilled a hole in the desk, and then an old desk I had, I just took the little cover there. All the wires are routed up through there, and I just have them wrapped in Velcro. It keeps it pretty clean. From this view, you don't see any wires hanging underneath. Down there to the left is one of my backpacks. I keep the church computer in there, as well as some other things for the church. Right there, paper shredder, trash can, nothing exciting. Oh, pardon my finger getting in the way again. But if we look down here, I have a bunch of books. These are some Barnes & Noble's classics. Yeah, there you can see the wires. But there's some Barnes & Noble's classics. They're like $5 at Barnes & Noble's. I got some Dostoevsky, Homer. I think we got Virgil in there, Plato. Who else do I have? Dante, The Divine Comedy, T.S. Eliot. What else do we get? I got Milton's Paradise Lost. So, you know, some really good stuff for $5 a piece. You can't beat it. Middle shelf there, that's Game of Thrones and the Hunger Games. Those are actually my daughter's Hunger Games. She's done reading them, so I just threw them there. I think the colors, they match, and I needed something to fill the space. Bottom left cube, you see Edgar Allan Poe, Grimm's Fairy Tales, Sherlock Holmes, some Hemingway. I got a Stephen King Cujo there. Book called It's Kind of a Funny Story. That's another one of my daughters. To the right, got the Iliad. I got War and Peace. And those books all the way to the right, those are on reading, writing, literature, and things of that nature. On the desk itself, I have Apple's wireless, what do they call it, the Magic Keyboard. This is the new one with the number pad. I had the one that plugged in with the number pad. I love it. I use the number pad all the time, so it's pretty important to me. Magic trackpad too, Magic mouse too. All the stuff that's rechargeable, so I don't have to keep putting batteries in it. This is a 27-inch iMac, the 5K. Give me 1 second. Yeah, so the 5K 27-inch iMac. I have a second 27-inch monitor. That's a Dell. It's just a 1080p monitor. The 2560 by 1440 was way too much money. There's a JBL Bluetooth speaker. That thing knocks when you really need it. Coffee cup with a coaster under it. There's the iPad. I'm rereading at the moment Louis Ayres' Nicene, Its Legacy, An Approach to 4th Century Trinitarian Theology. Great book. You learn a lot from it. One thing I want to point out about the desk actually is you can see right here how I have it propped up. Now when the desk itself just sat on the cabinets, it was a little too low. I didn't like how low I had to have the chair, so I took the scrap pieces that I cut off, cut them down again, and I'm using that to prop it up. I had tried a couple of other things before that. It just didn't really, I didn't like the look aesthetically. And then right there, I've got taped up under there a 4-port USB hub, so I don't ever have to reach behind the computer and plug things in. I could just do it right there. Makes everything nice and easy. But now to the books. That's what everyone's waiting for. Right here we have this little shelf. I just keep these C.S. Lewis books on it because of this book stand that I'm using. And if you look, this will illuminate it. I thought it was just a neat little book stand. You know, the guy's about to get crushed by these books. I do like Lewis. He's not my favorite author by any means. I just thought it looked good up there. These are lightweight books. The spines aren't going to get too damaged from being propped up in such a manner, so that's the reasoning behind that. But now the piece de resistance, and we'll just pan around. There we go. And actually, before I start talking about the books, I do have a second, I call it a utility table. I guess it's a desk. Same countertop. Also keep the printer. There's my MacBook Pro. That's the one with the touch bar, 15-inch. Here's my Akai and PK249, which is a MIDI controller. I do play around with music production a little bit, so but when it's time to make beats, I actually just, drag it over here, plug it in, and then we do that. Router, modem, phone, nothing special. And these sit on top of two more small bookcases, which I'll get to the books in a minute. Over to the right, you see I just have my power strip and then some cables and wires and stuff, and then right under that, just paper for the printer and envelopes. We'll discuss all the other stuff in a second. But yeah, that's my little utility table. I didn't want to put everything on this desk because then it wouldn't leave me room to function. We're panning back around. We have, I think 4 full-sized IKEA Billy bookcases in white. Then I have 4 of the half-sized ones. All of them got the extension unit on top. Initially I was going to make them look built in and get some crown molding, but I opted for the LED lights above, and at nighttime it just gives a nice ambiance. And if I put the white one on and turn it up real bright, I could actually read and use that as my light in the room. But organizing them, that took a little bit of time. We had to really think about it. My books were scattered throughout the house before I redid the office, so I had shelves devoted to certain things, but we went through a little bit of a reorganization when I set this up, and I jotted down some stuff on paper. I gave it some thought. Jim Darlack had sent me a document from a book. I forget the name of it, but on Facebook he had gave me a link to a document where a pastor who was also a librarian, and he talked about organizing a personal theological library, and so I got some ideas from there. But starting up at the top here, we have reference, and the top 2 shelves and a few books onto the third, those are all reference works. These are dictionaries, encyclopedias, and things of that nature. I won't detail them. Then we start with the commentaries, and I have them organized by set. Those are starting here. These are the Westminster John Knox. Those are the Old Testament, New Testament library. We got the exegetical commentary on the New Testament by Zondervan, NICOT, NICNT by Erdmans. This is the Cascade series, the NCCS. I believe I have, those are all New Testament. New International Greek Testament commentary, Pillar, Baker, the Two Horizons, those are Old Testament commentaries. Here's a few critical commentaries from Erdmans. Those 3 little ones next to the Erdman commentaries, those are from B&H. They're more exegetical handbooks. We have the Cornerstone series, a couple Old Testament, 1 New Testament, Word Biblical Commentary, some of the Catholic commentary on sacred scripture, Keener's 2 volumes on John, Bruner on John, and then a bunch of standalones that are organized in canonical order. Little space on that bottom shelf to grow. Nothing too fancy. I don't have a ton of commentaries. To me, they're like reference tools. I'm never going to sit down and really read one from cover to cover. And I tend to, a lot of those were sent to me for review, some were sent by friends. And the ones I purchase on a need to have basis. So if I happen to be studying a particular book, that's when I'll pick up a commentary on that book. I don't want to just hoard commentaries I'm not going to use. Onto this second bay of shelves. This is my Old Testament stuff at the top. And, you know, it shows you really how inadequate my Old Testament library is, because it's pretty much confined to that one shelf. So we have my introductions to the Old Testament, surveys, things of that nature, and then just a few books on, you know, different topics and different books in the Old Testament. New Testament starts here, same thing, surveys, introductions. Then we have stuff on the four Gospels, on gospel writing, a lot of good stuff in there. There's Richard Balcom's Jesus and the Eyewitnesses. They just released a second edition, which I'd like to pick up. Funny note, for those who are familiar with him, Jim West actually got me that book many years ago, probably 9, almost 10 years ago now. Yeah, like I said, a bunch of books on the Gospels. This one, Jesus According to Scripture by Darrell Bach. That's great. That's meant to go with the Nestle Aland, the synopsis of the four Gospels. So, two great resources to have together. Again, just more stuff on the Gospels. Here's a few volumes on parables, stories with intent. That's hands down the best book on parables, most comprehensive commentary that's out there. Holtgren's Parables of Jesus is also very good. Eugene Peterson's Tell It Slant, that's one that my friend Robert Jimenez got for me. And, you know, we did like 24 weeks in the parables in Bible study at church, and that thing was, like, the value was immeasurable. I gained so much from that book, so thanks to Robert for that one. Then we got, you know, these are like textbooks on, you got the Gospels, John, the epistles. Then we just go in canonical order. Stuff, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, obviously. Then we get into the Paul section. I just got all my stuff on Paul's, bunch of N.T. Wright. There's Campbell's The Deliverance of God. Honestly, I think I got like through the introduction and put it down. I need to pick that back up. More just New Testament stuff. There's a book that's pushed in right there and it's driving me crazy. And that happens to be Michael Bird's Are You the One Who Is to Come? Then we get into the historical Jesus. And then we have Meyer's 5 volumes on a marginal Jew, Dunn's Christianity in the Making. And then we get lower, what do we have? We have Barnett, Keener, a bunch of random books. Those are Raymond Brown's Birth and Death of the Messiah. Some books on resurrection. We get down here, we start textual criticism, books about manuscripts, books about the biblical canon, books about the Bible in general. Then we get into like inerrancy and inspiration. And if you notice there, I have a hole cut out so I can get to the outlet. And because it's still warm in New Jersey at this time, I have just this fan plugged in. It's an eyesore, but it keeps me cool. Then, let's see. You know, again, top shelf, more books on inspiration. Then we start getting into hermeneutics and interpretation. Got a bunch there. Hermeneutics continues down here. Then we start getting into biblical theology, and this whole shelf is biblical theology. Biblical theology ends there. Then you got Old Testament theology, New Testament theology, and when I get to Bultmann here, all my Bultmann stuff is grouped together. I got a space here that I just cleared out. I'm actually gonna be filling it up. I just ordered another book on Bultmann's Christology after my friend Esteban recommended it on Twitter, so I will be picking that up soon. It should be in the mail any day now. Again, more New Testament theology. Then we get into systematic theology. And I started with the kind of the random books before getting to the sets, because I didn't want to break sets up. So there's all the random stuff on various things: atonement, revelation, metaphysics, just various topics of systematic theology. And then you get into Barth's church dogmatics, and I have a few Barth books there, reading Karl Barth, Christianity and Barthianism, Thomas Aquinas and Karl Barth, Westminster Handbook to Karl Barth. So there's all of that. Down here you have Odin, Geisler, Puritan theology, Gerald Bray, Michael Bird, Michael Horton, who's that, Culver. I only have the first volume of Pannenberg, and again another random book. And then we get into here. This is where things start to get slightly different. Alright, so this top shelf you have Bavinck's Reformed Dogmatics, but then I have the biography on Bavinck with that. Here we have Voss's Reformed Dogmatics, and then I have his letters with a brief biography on him, and that empty space is for the 5th volume, which is in the mail and on its way. Then we have Concise Reformed Dogmatics, Christian Dogmatics. This is Broughton and Robert Jensen. And the space in between there, I recently ordered Jensen's 2-volume Systematic Theology, so we're going to try to squeeze it in there. Hopefully it'll work. This set, I've yet to complete it, but these are the Foundations of Evangelical Theology, and I got 3 volumes there. I have Douglas Kelly's 2 volumes. I don't know how many more he has planned for this systematic theology. And then here we get to an entire shelf of John Frame. So there's his Intro to Systematic Theology, Salvation Belongs to the Lord. There's his big book, his 4-volume Theology of Lordship series, and then the 3 volumes of his selected shorter writings. Frame is just one of those once-in-a-lifetime thinkers that, whether you agree or disagree with them, you learn a lot when you're reading them. Here's my old Princeton stuff. So you got Warfield, J. Gresham Macon, not Gresham Machen, but J. Or is it? No, J. Gresham Machen, not Mackin. Right Reason in the Princeton Mind. Then there's another Frame book, Apologetics to the Glory of God, which I had to move down there after I made room for that final volume of his shorter writings. Down here you got Van Til, Calvin, some books on Calvin, more books on Calvin, Calvinism. These are books against it, Arminianism. Then we got Kuyper, J.H. Bavinck, book on how to read T.F. Torrance. It's kind of little random bits when you get down here. Down here some stuff, Reformation. We got Concordia, that's the Lutheran Confessions. Great book. Tom Linke got me that. Very, very thankful for that. Some random stuff on Reformation, ecclesiology. Then we have baptism, the Lord's Supper. Bringing it up here, this is my Ratzinger or Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI. That's his section that carries down here. Then we have Scott Hahn and Brad Petrie. So these are like my favorite Catholic authors. They get this section. Then we have books on preaching. Then we have apologetics. And these are like the important ones on apologetics that I've actually found useful. And here's some more on apologetics and some Judaism. Then we get down to here, and this is what I call like my pastoral section. These are books on kingdom, books on marriage, books on child abuse in the church, prayer, popular culture, music, just things that will actually help you in dealing with people. Because for those who don't know, I am an ordained pastor. And some more of the pastoral section here. These are just some Peter Leithart volumes and a Festra for John Piper. Just kind of random. No rhyme or reason to them being there right now. And then under this desk here are all, let me focus back in. These are all my primary texts. Got Hebrew Bibles, Greek New Testaments, Greek Old Testaments, Latin New Testaments, Latin Old Testaments, Hebrew New Testaments. And I got a bunch there. This middle shelf for some flashcards, a couple little dictionaries. There's my synopsis of Paul's letters, synopsis of the four Gospels, some pseudepigraphic and non-Masoretic Psalms and prayers from the Dead Sea Scrolls. Here's lexicons, grammars, Hebrew and Greek, some more language study stuff on this bottom shelf, and then the bigger Hebrew and Greek Bibles. So there's that. Then up top here on this shelf, in between the bookshelves, these are all my New Testament monograph series. Those are the Wundt volumes from Moore Seebeck. There's some Brill stuff. These are Bloomsbury. Used to be T&T Clark. I got a whole bunch. I mean, you know, hands down, these are the best New Testament monographs in the business. Up here, some more primary texts. We got Old Testament pseudepigrapha. We got some ancient Canaanite stuff. Those are the lost books of the Bible, Forgotten Books of Eden, Josephus, Book of Jasher, Revelation of the Magi, some stuff on Gospel of Thomas, Philo, my new Oxford annotated Apocrypha, and then we get into church history. And we got a couple of sets, some random volumes. Here's some more primary text on the Apostolic Fathers. Then one on Justin Martyr. And then the case against Diodore and Theodore, that's John Beer. Excellent translation and commentary. Here's IVP's Ancient Christian Doctrine. I only got 1, 2, and 5. I need 3 and 4. Some of the ancient Christian texts, various commentaries. You got Cyril of Alexandria, Ambrosiaster, Eusebius. So this is more patristics. Carry that down to this shelf. You know, Justin Martyr, Irenaeus, Athanasius, the Gregories, Basil, however you want to say it, Augustine. More patristics, and then heresy, some Eastern Orthodox stuff, theosis, and finishing off some more Orthodox stuff in my Catechism of the Catholic Church. That's probably got to get reshelved. Now here starts the Trinity section, and I have all the stuff on the development of the doctrine in Nicaea. That's top shelf. That's all been separated, but from the second shelf on down, everything's just in alphabetical order. So pretty much everything on the Trinity I've been able to get my hands on over the years. It's definitely my passion for study. So we got all that. Various books. Like I said, these are all alphabetical by title. Some more Trinity. There's my certificate of ordination. It's just a little decorative. A couple of Hebrew Bibles, and I don't know what you call it, a statue, I guess, that a woman I used to go to church with gave me for my birthday. And then down here, this starts the Christology section. So these are all important volumes on Christology. Some more important than others. That book by Bart Ehrman is just horrendous. So poorly argued. It's unbelievable. The one directly next to it, that's a response to it. That's excellent. Here's the stool I used to climb up to get to the big shelves. Again, more Christology. Here's some pneumatology. You see how small that is, and it's fitting because the Holy Spirit's usually the member that gets left behind in the Trinity. And this bottom shelf is empty. It didn't used to be, but I made room for expansion. As we speak, I have a number of books on the Trinity set to arrive, so within the next week or two, that'll get pushed out. This bottom shelf, books on Christology, are always coming in. So these are definitely the room for the most expansion. Back to the desk, something I hadn't noted was my 6-volume Reader's Bible from Crossway. Love that. A couple other Bibles. This is one that Robert Jimenez gave me. When I preach from a physical Bible, it's usually this Bible. Absolutely love it. He gave it to me a number of years ago. What do we got here? Yeah. So what's that? March 30th, 2011. And we're at the end of 2017, so it's been a long time. This was my original Bible that I just highlighted everything and took so many notes in. You know, this thing, but it fell apart on me. And I found it when I was putting the office together, and it was like reuniting with an old friend when you see stuff that you haven't seen in quite a while. And that about does it, except for when we come over here to the closet, I've got a couple of more bookcases. Now real quick, up top we just house my sneakers. I've had to label the boxes so I know what's what. But I had 2 bookcases. One was black, the other was like espresso. They didn't match. I had this idea to, go get all this wood from Home Depot, trim them out, make them look like one big bookcase. I was going to paint it. And when I grabbed the materials, it was like a lot of money. So I actually ended up returning the materials. I got a couple of pieces of just molding and kind of did it that way. But this left bookcase, you got Bibles on the first 2 shelves. This third shelf down here, this is Colts. You got Kingdom of the Colts, and then Jehovah's Witness stuff. Those green volumes, that's Charles Taze Russell. He's the one who started the Jehovah's Witness. Those are his studies in the scriptures. More Jehovah's Witness stuff. Those are the Mormon texts. Then you got my Qurans, books on Islam, and then just a couple random books. Here's a couple of books on creation, intelligent design, and then down here are just a whole bunch of random books that, most of them I've thumbed through, but they probably won't get a real reading. So we just throw them in there. Then if we open this up to the other side, can't see it too well. Books on eschatology, end times. These are like my charismatic type books on Pentecostalism, spiritual gifts, speaking in tongues, healing, exorcisms, things like that. Here's some more random books, a lot of it referenced. Dictionary Thesaurus. A customer of mine gave me the Photoshop Bible and also a book on Illustrator. There's a textbook on Logic, another one on Western Civ, and just a couple others. Empty shelf. True story, I take this board and I use it to make sure all the books on my shelves are even. And here's some binders with some things I printed out years and years and years ago. And I actually want to point something out. If you grab this one, let's walk it over to the desk. We'll put that there and just give me 2 seconds to show you this. This is what I'm talking about. So we took these 2 bookshelves trimmed it out with this, and then with this in the middle. So, it kind of gives it the appearance that it's one shelf. You can see just because of the way the light's hitting the nails that are in it, but these are actually, I've colored over them in black, and when the light's not hitting it, you don't notice them at all. Actually look pretty good. So that's it for the books. A bunch of junk up there, but I just want to point this particular binder out because I'd forgotten all about it until, again, I'm setting up the office. And when we open it up, I have here an article called The Binitarian Shape of Early Christian Worship by Larry Hurtado. And you keep going. I got that printed out. And this right here, what do we mean by first century Jewish monotheism? L.W. Hurtado. I printed this out in 2006, July 21st, 2006, from a website called forananswer.org. And this article right here led me on a path. It led me on a path of study, of inquiry into early Christology, early Christian origins. I had already been interested in the Trinity. I'd already been reading books on the Trinity. But this is what led me really to get in to early Christology. Here's an article by James McGrath and Jerry Truex from JBS. And I printed out all this stuff and I read it. And that's what led to this library becoming the size that it is. That's why I have all these shelves on Christology. It was those articles that I printed from For an Answer. And it's funny how I forgot about it until I saw this binder and opened it up, and it all came flooding back to me. This was my introduction to Hurtado. That led to me getting this book right here, Lord Jesus Christ. Lord Jesus Christ led to me getting a whole bunch of other books. Where are we at? The Pre-Existent Son. There we go. The Pre-Existent Son by Simon Gathercole. Fees Pauline Christology. Sorry for my finger getting in the way. And then that led to me getting older books like Hamilton Kelly's book on pre-existence and just all of this. But all from a single Hurtado article. And then I had to devour everything of his that I could find. I had to get books. I read the footnotes in those books. I had to get other books. And it just began to grow and grow and grow from there. So, yeah, there you have it. One last look. There's a clock. Don't mind that hanger hanging. I actually use it to grab wires behind the bookshelves when I need to. And there you go. You'll forgive the focusing. This is it. That's the library / office. And there's my car.